Welcome to the Parkland Report. I'm Stephanie Stewart, your host and Vice President for Strategic Partnerships and Workforce Innovation here at Parkland College. Today we have two leaders on campus as our guest, and the very first is Stephanie DeVingman, who is our Dean of Counseling Services. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
We were talking before we started today just about all of the different things that are encompassed within counseling services here at Parkland, and so could you tell us a little bit about what your work entails here at the college?
Absolutely. I do have to count on my fingers because there's a lot of things.
That's okay. We can keep track together.
So I'm responsible for our Counseling Support Center, which is our mental health counseling on campus. I'm responsible for academic advising, and so that's all of the advisors that help students figure out where they want to go, what classes they want to take, those kinds of things. I'm responsible for career services, and that helps students identify what they want to go into, what program they might be interested in, but also helps the community with those kinds of things. I'm responsible for TRIO, which is a federally granted program, and it supports students with disabilities, first-generation students, and students with low income, and then accessibility services. So we try to make sure that students with disabilities have equal access to our education.
That's great. Well, that's a lot to unpack here, and there's a lot that goes on with each of those different departments. I want to talk about advising, because I think this is in many cases one of the first ways that students are interacting with Parkland and trying to figure out which math classes do I need to take and how do I make that road to the full associate's degree. So can you talk about what process do your advisors go through with students, and how are they working with students as they're coming in and maybe not so sure about what's next?
So one of the things that we started in the last 3 years or so is having a specific advisor for each student. And that has really been a good process because students help develop a relationship with their advisor, and then their advisor helps identify things that they want to work on or things that they need to address to do better academically. And so the advisors will have conversations with their students about what it is they want to do and how they want to reach those goals. But they're very knowledgeable about each program. So it's identified by their area of interest. And so that is really helpful for students, because then these advisors know some of the things that will help them transfer if they're going to a four-year institution, but also how they can meet their needs for career programs as well. And so they go through, they're very knowledgeable about the course catalog and courses, prerequisites, and all of those kinds of things, and can walk students through that whole process.
That's very exciting, and it relates really closely to career services. So if that student, maybe they don't know what their area of interest is, so how do those two parts of your world work together?
Great question. Career Services does a really good job of having some assessments available for students and community members to help identify where they might want to go in their next part of their journey. You can go online and do those assessments. One of them is a shorter assessment, and there's a longer assessment as well. And the students and community members can complete that in order to kind of identify what their skills are and what they want to study. And then they can connect with the advisor in those areas of interest. And so advisors sometimes are the second step. Career Services the first, advisor is the second. But there's a lot of times that students start with an advisor and then realize that, hey, this might not be the best fit for me, and then they go to Career Services. In addition, one of the things that Career Services does is really prepare students for their job search. So they do a lot of work with resume writing and reviewing resumes, mock interviews, and just guidance on that job process.
That's great. Yeah, that's such a critical part to know where you're aiming, what is that outcome, and we can help you get there. I want to go back to the advisors too, because they really work as a team with our faculty on student success and retention and all of those pieces. So what does that look like with communication to say, hey, the student has been coming to class, how do advisors come in to support as well?
So that's definitely something that we're working on.
Yes.
One of the things that I really love about Parkland is the commitment that faculty have for their students. And so one of the things that has helped with having that assigned advisor is that faculty know who the advisors are for different students. And so they can email them directly when they have a concern or are worried about a student. And we have this actually in all of our areas, like it definitely happens with academic advising, but it happens with our counseling support center too. If a faculty faculty member is concerned about a student, they might fill out a form in order to help our team know, or connect directly to our counseling support center and accessibility services as well. So faculty have different ways to connect with different people in my units to help truly support the student. And then on the advisor end, one of the things that they do is really try to connect with that student to address the concerns that the faculty member has. So our academic advisors know strategies for studying. They help identify if they're having problems getting to class, what are some resources that might be able to help a student. They really are experts in Parkland resources. How do we connect students to the resources they need?
That's great. And thinking about resources, accessibility services is so interesting to me because there's lots of different facets to that as well. Like, what does accessibility in the classroom mean? And it can mean lots of different things. So can you help unpack that for our viewers just a little bit?
I will certainly try. It's a very challenging field and complicated field sometimes, because I think we're always learning about ways that we can make education more accessible. And so obviously we have disabilities that are visible disabilities. We are wheelchair users and things like that who might need specific changes in the classroom in order to get into the classroom, to participate in learning. It's more common that we have invisible disabilities. So the person sitting next to you might have a disability and you're not even aware of it. And these invisible disabilities are situations where people might think differently, might not be able to adequately see what's happening in the classroom or hear those things, and those aren't always things that we can see. It can be difficulties with mental health issues as well. And so there's a lot of changes in the field right now with the Mental Health Early Action on Campus Act, because one piece of that is that we reduce barriers for students with mental health disabilities. And so we are trying to figure out how we can do that in the best way. And it's an ongoing struggle, just because we are consistently finding new ways that we can do things and new ways that we can make education more accessible. One of the cool things that I love about accessibility services is that there are a lot of tools sometimes we can use in order to help people with their education. And so one of the things we have that I think is kind of neat, it's a live scribe pen. And one of the things that it does is you have to get approval, get accommodation to be able to record. But what happens is students can take notes and it's recording at the same time. And they can go back to that section of the recording by hitting the place that they wrote the information. So it's a really good tool to help with note taking, but also to help those students that might need a little additional support with hearing the recording as well.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, technology can definitely help bridge that divide. I know we've also talked about just our website and our course materials and just making sure that everything is accessible to our students who have varied needs. And I feel like as a community college, right, it's even more important because our students are members of the community and the diversity of our community too. You touched on something about mental health, and I want to talk about our counseling services and what it provides to our student body, because I think that's an untapped resources, or maybe you don't feel that they're untapped.
But it is. I mean, one of the things that we did is we have a counseling support center survey that I had students complete, and it's still open. Students can complete it and access it through our website. But one of the things that I found from this website is that, from the survey, is that people aren't aware that we have counseling services available and they're free for students. I send emails pretty frequently, but it's hard for us to always remember what's available to us when we're feeling distressed. And so counseling services are free to our students. Our counselors are qualified counselors with a lot of experience in working in higher ed specifically, which to me is really beneficial, more beneficial than just dealing with a counselor who knows mental health, because the integration of mental health and academics is really, really critical to college students, so that they really have the supports they need with someone who understands kind of the context, so that we can work with faculty as needed, but we can also get them the mental health support that they need as well. Yeah, this is such a hot topic as we think about what's important to our students and just what's happening within our culture, that a lot of folks are struggling with their mental health. And in my government relations work for the college, I also hear a lot, it's really important to our legislators
resources. And so I know that the Mental Health Early Action on Campus Act is something that you have been really spearheading on our campus in terms of how we respond and use those resources. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, I worked very, very hard to do some of the things with the Mental Health Early Action on Campus Act. One of the initiatives that we started is a resource called Talk Campus. And this is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week online peer support network. And it's a really, really great place for people to post things that are going on for them and then get support. And one of the things that I really, really loved about this platform is you can post in 26 different languages. And so that helps meet some of our needs of our international students. I've also started an initiative program called You at Parkland. And so this resource is one that is a mental health and wellness app. So it has a lot of different information about different things that would be on the hearts and minds of students, as well as a piece for faculty and staff. And what's great about this is it connects specifically to Parkland resources. So if a student says, I need tutoring, it will connect them to the tutoring at Parkland. And so it's a really easy thing to use, and it connects students to resources they need. But we also added a faculty staff component, which to me is really important, because if we want our students' mental health to be supported, we want to have our faculty and staff mental health supported too. And so it's a similar kind of thing for that group, where they can do a search in this program, and it connects them to the Parkland resources to deal with whatever issue they're presenting with.
That's wonderful. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so informative, and we'll have to have you back in a while and see how things progress. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That's it for this segment with Stephanie DeVingman. And when we come back, we'll be talking with Krishna Thomas, who's the director of our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning.
Tired of working multiple jobs? Parkland College has your solution for better work-life balance. They provide short-term training for in-demand careers that can lead you to a satisfying job and better pay. Plus, Parkland has affordable transfer credits, flexible class times, and payment assistance. Now, how does that work for you? Visit parkland.edu/summerfall24 and get started.
Welcome back to the Parkland Report. Our next guest is Krishna Thomas, the director of the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. Krishna, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks you for having me.
Yes.
My name is Krishna Thomas, director for the center. I have been in this position since July, the end of July, so I'm just coming into my first year here at Parkland.
That's wonderful.
And so just trying to get a feel for the rhythm of Parkland and how things work.
Well, and we are actually in your space right now. We're in Seattle. A little bit of a different background for the show today, but can you talk about what actually happens on a regular basis in this space that we're sitting in?
Well, my goal for Seattle is always to be friendly to faculty and staff. And so the goal here is to be open, to have a little bit of a lounge feel so folks can come in and grade, have their coffee, have some quiet time if they need it. But also, in addition to that, we have a classroom right across the way where we have workshops and programs for faculty and staff. Very recently, we had a couple of workshops on student skills for success that was led by Dr. Grissom, and just kind of working on different activities and programs for faculty and staff.
That's great. So in addition to creating that sense of community and having some workshops, so what is the overall goal of having CETL as part of our academic community here at Parkland?
I think the goal for CETL is really to support faculty and staff in their professional development, provide opportunities to build on skills, to provide opportunities for growth. At the end of the day, I think our goal here is to be student ready, which kind of harkens to the reading groups we had earlier this semester, but really just kind of helping to provide the skills and the capacity to work more for our students. And so, but ideally the goal for me is to have a space that's organic, a space that is welcoming. We have a coffee section. Sometimes I bring treats, and sometimes we have boxes of Girl Scout cookies. And so that's always a fun thing to have people come through the space. And today we're impromptu studio, so that's always a fun thing.
Put that on your list, right?
Well, next week will be a discotheque, so all the things.
Yeah, I'll come back for that one. And you mentioned something I want to follow up on, which is you talked about Student Ready College, and so you had orchestrated a wonderful professional development day for all of our faculty and staff back in February, and the focal point was really that concept of becoming student ready. And so, what were some of the conversations? Like, tell us a little bit about what that is or what that means, and then what were some of those conversations that unfolded as a result of that focus?
Okay, absolutely. And the theme really was based on the book from the AACU about building a student-ready college. And what it is building on the different things that we have going on at Parkland. We have many pockets of innovative, progressive, and great ideas for helping students achieve success. And who they are, how do we meet them? And so just kind of, one, celebrating those achievements, and two, making folks aware that these things are happening on campus. I think that is one of the things that we are trying to combat, is trying to avoid being siloed in our respective jobs, in my special chair, in my special room. And so just kind of having the opportunity to connect with each other across campus to find ways to help students. And some of the conversations that we had, for example, was a rehash of some programs we had in the fall. Like, who are our students? The students are actually in classes right now. How do we meet their needs? I know Stephanie DeVingman was here earlier and spoke about mental health supports for students. Other opportunities were academic advising. How do we partner with academic advisors to provide help for students or early alert systems? And so I think the key for me is to build a network and to connect with folks across campus. And, we all are here to work, and we are mostly passionate about working with students. And so that's the goal.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the conversations I had on that day. I led one of the sessions with Vice President Tramey, and all the conversations were different groups, spurs, different ideas within it. But really, with our faculty, it was so interesting because they want to see students succeed and maintain that high academic quality. And so then it's strategizing, right? How do we help students kind of get to those markers where they can move on to the next courses and feel fully prepared?
Absolutely. And what I also find very interesting about that is that you don't. Sometimes I feel like we place student learning on the responsibility of faculty, but I think as staff we also have a responsibility for being a part of that conversation. Whether it's telling a student, hey, let me take you to the office that can help you with registration. Let me find you some supports, or the Learning Commons. So really capitalizing on the skills that we all bring to Parkland as a way to help students.
You talked about staff engagement, and we had shared before the show started just some ideas that you've got for the upcoming summer months. Commencement is right around the corner, and so then we'll be in summer mode for before it starts, it seems like it will be a long time, and then it's gone in a flash. But what are some of the ideas that you have for summer to stay engaged?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we do have some more serious topics. Being engaged professionally, for example, we will have some learning communities for faculty and staff, some reading groups as well. But one of the things I'd really like to start bringing is to make this an informal, organic space. For example, I love this idea of a summer salad series where we get together every other week, or maybe every week, I'm not sure, to break bread together, to have salad together. I mean, salads are not that difficult to make, I would hope. So the goal is to have a little bit of a potluck and have people across campus come and join us. Informal, have conversations, have salad. Another idea that was suggested was a walking wellness group around campus. I know there's several groups of folks that walk, and so maybe we could do a challenge. I don't know. Maybe we could raise money towards something. So all sorts of different ideas. But that really is. I want to have this place be as engaging to people as much as possible.
That's wonderful. I know, you're coming up on the end of your first academic year with us, and last year you were sort of just thrust right into the role with our Welcome Back Week. So I'm sure that planning is already at least just rolling in the back of your mind of what does that look like for our faculty as they return in the fall. But what significance does it have, and then what does that week entail for them? I know that CETL plays just a central role in prepping for any academic year.
I think part of it is just setting the tone. I think one of the great things about Welcome Back Week, I think, is just hearing from our president and our administrators, setting the mission and the vision of Parkland at the forefront. And then from there, we have workshops for faculty and staff. We have a new faculty orientation or just supports for faculty and staff as they get into that semester. For example, concourse workshops or COBRA workshops. And so what resources we can provide so folks can start off on the right foot. I think what's really great about that is there's a component of Welcome Back Week that is somewhat dear to our heart. We are planning on doing faculty mentoring as part of the fall semester. We are welcoming more new faculty, but we're also trying to make sure that we are connecting faculty and staff with resources across campus. I will also say that there's also a part of Welcome Back Week that is specific to adjunct faculty or part-time faculty so that they feel that they are a part of this community as well.
That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to the next Welcome Back Week. It's so great to have you in this role. Krishna was a great addition to Parkland. We hadn't had a CETL director for a while, and so it's great to see this priority of the college really blossoming and doing great under your leadership. So
I appreciate that, and I am open to ideas and suggestions. I know that there's room for growth, and so I'm excited about that.
Great. Well, Krishna, thank you for being on the show today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's it for today's edition of the Parkland Report. We hope you'll join us next time, and we'll see you then.